everything you know is a lie. Hello interwebs, and welcome to my review of the latest episode of Doctor Who. Yes, it's finally back for Series 12, Episode 1, Spyfall. And I'm really excited for Doctor Who to finally be back. While I did have some problems with Series 11 here and there, and I think it was problems that most people had with Series 11, I really did love Jodie Whitaker, and I did love a lot of the things that last season did overall. And I was just excited to finally have a new season back where the writers were able to regroup, think a little bit about the mistakes of last season, and hopefully come back to us with a much improved series of Doctor Who. Because I usually think that the first series of any Doctor Who with a new showrunner and a new Doctor are always a bit rough. I mean, we think about it like Christopher Eccleston, while he did have some amazing episodes, there was a lot of clunkers in that first series as well. And same thing a little bit with Matt Smith, and especially with Peter Capaldi. I loved Peter Capaldi, especially by the end of his run, but I did not particularly love his first season at all, even though that still had Stephen Moffat carrying over. The new Doctor kind of was a bit rough. So while I thought Series 11 was a bit rough, I was excited for Series 12. So what did I think of the first episode back for Jodie Whitaker and the crew and the gang and the fam, I should say? Well, I will say that I didn't really warm up to this episode until the end. And I'm going to be doing full spoilers on this episode, so just to let you know, we're going to be discussing the twist that does happen at the end of the episode. So just be aware of that. But yeah, for the most part, this episode did not... I don't want to say I hated it, because I actually did enjoy it as I was watching it, but there was just some things that kind of like threw me out, some recurring things from last series, and a few things that are kind of fresh for this series that I hope kind of improve as it goes on, and I'm hoping it's not continuing the trend from last series. Now, there is definitely some improvements from last series that I can already see, but there are a few things that have not changed that really I'm kind of concerned about, but for some people it may work. So let's just talk about sort of the big picture stuff and then get into the actual episode itself. First off, I will say, love all the recurring cast members and Jodie Whitaker in particular. I think they really, as much as I don't love the decision necessarily to have such a large group of companions for the Doctor, I gotta say, I love all four of these actors. I love Ryan, I love Graham, I love Yaz, even though she doesn't get as much character, and I adore Jodie Whitaker, and I think they all do a fantastic job here. As per usual, Ryan and Graham are the standouts each and every time. Well, Graham had a little bit less to do here, and Ryan had a little bit more. I think, you know, as the companions, Ryan and Graham, and even sometimes even overshadow the Doctor and how much I really love them, is I really love those companions. I think they do a great job, and they both have a lot of fun here. I loved Ryan just kind of being nervous going in, trying to be a spy, and like kind of having a little bit of like trepidation and just being off kilter. That's such a really fun place, and it was really cool to see him being kind of the more like, I'm not so super confident in this space, and Yaz just being like, yeah, come on, I got this. I know what we're doing. So that was a lot of fun, and just Graham always kind of being the like fish out of water, like, what's happening now? I just think he plays that perfectly as sort of like the level-headed straight man of the group. And even Yaz got a little bit more to do here this episode, and we got to see a little bit more of a family, kind of tying her in a little bit more emotionally, and we got a little bit of hint of that where Ryan was talking with Yaz about her sister and how Ryan wants to date her sister. And I hope that that's a trend that continues, just to kind of weave Yaz a little bit more into the group and add a little bit more dynamics into her. The problem with last series is that Ryan and Graham had a lot of great drama because they were related with each other, and then you also had their Ryan's grandmother and Graham's wife dying, and them having to deal with that. But Yaz kind of just felt like a little bit off to the side, and except for in the episode Demons of Punjab. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more of that coming to the fore here. And we got hints of it. It wasn't, I don't want to say it was fully fleshed out yet. I don't want to say Yaz has been sort of fully fleshed out as a character, but we're getting a little bit more with her, and I think that's a good sign of improvement. And we also got some really cool stuff with her when she gets taken away, and then her reacting, kind of being scared, and having kind of been traumatized by the experience after she was sort of teleported by those aliens at that point in the episode. And so we're starting to see her get a little bit more personal stakes and personal storyline in the episodes. And I hope, again, that continues, because it kind of was dropped here, but this is a two-parter, so there's a chance that that will continue as the episodes go on, and maybe even continue as the series goes on. And I should talk about Jodie Whitaker herself. I don't think she has any really standout moments in this episode overall, but I think she does a great job with what she's given. Like, even when the Doctor doesn't have a lot to do, she just is having fun. But this, again, goes to a problem that I had with Series 11, though, is that while I love Jodie Whitaker, and she does have a lot of fun in the role, she never really takes center stage at any point. In fact, a lot of this episode, she's very passive as the Doctor. I mean, if you really think about it, what did she actually do? She doesn't do much at the house that they go to with O. She doesn't really do a lot of spying stuff. When they're in the car kind of does stuff, and she doesn't really get to stop it all that much until she, like, kind of beats it at the end, and it was kind of not really a clever solution. It was just kind of a blow-up solution. She's taken by MI6. It's all very passive throughout the whole episode, except for at the end, which I will kind of get to that. And that's actually kind of my problem with the whole first half of the episode for the most part, is a lot of stuff is just happening, but nothing is really feeling like the characters are really progressing, outside of maybe Yaz and Ryan kind of sneaking in and talking to the CEO guy of Faux Google Vol or whatever, I forgot what it's called. So yeah, there was never really any stakes in the first beginning part of the episode. And the other part of it was that this episode was trying to be like a play on James Bond, spy thrillers, and I really love that stuff. I'm a huge spy fan. Skyfall is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. I've been a James Bond fan since I was a little kid, so spy movies have always been something that I really love. And I was kind of disappointed by this episode in the sense that it didn't really play with the spy stuff, especially in the first half of the episode, all that much. We got a few jokes here and there, like, oh, here's some, like, funny, like the laser shoe. Oh, we're playing with, like, his name is C and his name is O, which were very funny. The O bit. We'll come back to O in a second. All of it was funny, but the actual episode itself didn't really play with the spy genre all that much. And that kind of got disappointing, especially in the first half. And I know I'm kind of like putting all my blame on the first half of this episode. I'm doing that because I want to talk about the second half. Once they get to the party, I'm going to talk about that second half last, because I think that's the best part of the episode and the stuff that I really liked. So I'm kind of like shunting all this on the top half of the episode and not the back half. The other thing I really liked about the first half, I should say, is I did really like the design of the aliens and the aliens themselves. It was so cool to see them kind of like push through the walls, and seeing like the walls on them as they, like the look of the wall on them as they push through it. It was very creepy, very unsettling, very cool effect that I thought really made these aliens very, very unsettling. Kind of reminded me a lot of the Silence in a lot of ways, even though they are kind of different in how these aliens work. The big problem is I wish we got a little bit more about what they're doing here. We kind of know that they're from another universe and that they're working for someone. There is someone in charge, as we found out at the end of the episode. But we didn't really get much about how they work and what their goals are. And again, two-parter, so we may learn more in the next episode. I hope we learn more in the next episode. But I wish we got a little bit more to feed off of here to kind of maybe figure it out. That, you know, just gave me a little bit more of hints. So I was like speculating a little bit more in for second episode. Because right now I'm just kind of like, there's nothing really for me to cling on to. It's like, oh, what's going to happen at the end of the episode? Is just sort of like, okay, I don't have enough to like formulate guesses, and that's half the fun of a two-parter, is you kind of like guessing what's going to happen next. You're like, oh, what could happen? What's going on? But here, I don't really feel that. I don't really feel that as much. I don't really have enough hooks into the mystery yet. And the one big mystery piece that they played at the end of the episode. So, which does get me to finally the end of the episode. Now, first things first, I did say that they didn't do enough of the spy stuff in the first half of the episode. In the second half, I did have a lot of fun with it. I loved that they went to the party. They got all dressed up in the spy outfits, and the name's Doctor, the Doctor. I loved when she did that. That was a lot of fun. Them playing gambling stuff was a lot of fun, though. The party felt really small to me. That was just a weird, like, maybe they didn't have enough extras, but the party didn't feel big enough. And they didn't, like, I wish they had gotten to, like, intermingle with some of the guests a little more, do party stuff. It's just kind of, like, a setting that they're at. Now that I think about it, I still kind of have a problem with it. It's not doing enough spy stuff. They kind of just show up there. And this is something I did like. The Doctor goes right up to the CEO guys and just says, you know, hey, why did you do this thing? She doesn't, like, try to sneak around. She just says that. And she just says it to him. And again, though, I just wish there was a little bit more espionage in it. Yeah, so yeah, now that I think about it, while I did like the party stuff, and I love the Doctor gambling and getting it wrong and not knowing how to play cards, that was very funny and a good character moment for her. Yeah, it just didn't feel like enough spying for a whole episode to be about spy stuff. It didn't feel like it needed the spy aesthetic to really do any of the things it was doing. It could have just done this mystery and we could have removed the spy stuff. It would have lost a little bit of the flavor, but it wouldn't have necessarily taken away anything from the plot, which is kind of sad, to be very honest, and a bit disappointing. So yeah, now that I think about it, I didn't love that either. Maybe I'm a bit more down in this episode than I initially thought, which is kind of sad. One other thing before we get to the final piece at the end there that I don't really love, though, is the music. And this is a problem that I had with Series 11 as well. The music feels a bit overbearing at times. It feels like it's a bit much. It doesn't feel like it's conveying the proper mood. The music at all times in the series is always present. At every moment in the episode, there's always music. Something's playing. And it always feels dour, like a little bit more dour than I want it to. One of the things with like the Moffat era, which has its own problems, but one thing with it, the music felt very propulsive. It pushed things forward. It helped add to the frenetic pace of the Doctor. And while this Doctor, it's totally fine for the Doctor and Doctor Who in general to have a slower pace, which is kind of what they're going with Jodie. I don't know, it felt dour. It felt very dour, and this is the problem I had with Series 11 too. The music just makes things feel very dour. And then the few moments where it does kind of pick up, which happened twice in this episode, one when O enters the TARDIS, and then when they show up at the party, it feels out of place, because it's like suddenly it's like the big grandiose moment in the music that kind of threw me out and go like, ooh, I guess the music's playing. And it just felt out of place. So the music I just don't love. It kind of takes away from the tone that I think Doctor Who should have. And again, maybe that's just my taste, but I don't. It just kind of is a little bit dour, and it can work at sometimes. Like I thought it worked well in Rose and Demons of Punjab last year. I thought the music was actually very strong, but here it takes away from it, I think, in my opinion. Now to get to the thing that I really, really, really loved about this episode is we got the Master. We got the Master. The Master is back, and I loved his reveal here. Now, the Master being a reveal is nothing really new for Doctor Who. I think, I haven't really seen much of the classic Doctors, so I can't really speak to that. But for the Master in modern era, he or she has always been a reveal character. The first time we met him back in End of Time? No, not the End of Time. The one where they go into the far future towards at the end of the universe. I forget the name of the episode off the top of my head. I know the End of Time was David Tennant's finale and not that episode. But anyways, the first time we meet the Master, it's revealed that he's the Master at the end. It's like a big surprise. The same thing with Missy. When we met Missy, it was sort of like a big mystery. It's like, who is this person who's, picking off dead people? And meeting dead people in the afterlife. Who is that? And then she was again also revealed when it was revealed like she was the one being the prisoner that Peter Capaldi was keeping trapped. So yeah, the Master's always a reveal character, but this one I thought really worked because it was one of the few times where we got to see him in control and kind of reveling in it. Because now after I see that reveal and I go back throughout the episode, I'm like, there was stuff that I picked up, but it didn't click with me, and that's great seed planting. When the stuff that I'm able to be there and that's weird, that's making me think, and I'm trying to think about this stuff, but I'm not able to fully piece it together, and then when it finally clicks at the end, you're like, oh, even I just did it. Oh, it's the Master, and you see all the pieces fully form. Oh, brilliant. I did really like that, and that really saves this episode for me is the Master, because I really liked O. I thought he was a fun character. I thought he was very interesting and intriguing. And some of the pieces that I picked up is like he said, oh, I've ran into the Doctor back when he was a man. I'm like, did we see him in a previous episode? I recognize the actor. I've seen him in a few things. Maybe he was in an episode of Doctor Who and I just don't remember it. And I was trying to look it up on IMDb, but he's not on IMDb probably because they didn't want to reveal that he's the Master. So that really caught me. Him saying we got to figure out who's in charge. There's spies. There's got to be someone in charge. And you can see he's just having fun with it. He's like, oh yeah, they're gonna figure it out. And then the O bit, it was just, oof. It was just so good. And then when he gets revealed at the end, so much fun. The actor is reveling. And I wish I had the actor's name in front of me. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but he plays such a sinister Master. It was great. He was hamming it up a little bit. But not to John Sim levels where he's like, ha, I'm the Master, and I didn't hate John Sims, but it was very hammy in his performance. This one, he feels very hammy, but he feels sinister. Like his last scene there, he was so sinister, even in the sort of like melodrama of it. I'm very excited to see this master over the course of hopefully the series, and for a few series as well, because I think he, based on initial impressions, he's great, very great, and I am very excited to see how he progresses as the master. I hope we don't lose him too quickly. I think he did such a fantastic job. Now, I don't think we should have too much of the master, because I think we got the right level of master in Peter Capaldi, but I think we got a lot of her at that time. I'm hesitant on seeing him again so soon, and I hope he doesn't become too much of a presence, but if this is the actor who we're getting, I'm very excited for that. And it is also interesting, now that I think about it, that they're now gender reversed again. When Missy, she was a woman, and now the Doctor's a woman, and so that sort of gender reversing is at play again, and I'm curious to see how that dynamic's going to play out. That'll be kind of interesting. I hope, judging by how they sometimes like to mention that she's a woman, I'm curious that if they'll play into that dynamic a little bit, just like Stephen Moffat did, and I'm curious to see a writer who is better at writing women doing that. I don't hate Moffat's women as much as other people do, but he did tend to fall into certain patterns with his women that kind of got repetitive, I guess is the best word. I didn't hate it, but I didn't hate his women, but they were all kind of the same. Outside of like Amy Pond being perhaps the only different. Amy Pond and Bill, I should say. Bill also didn't fall into this. Amy Pond and Bill kind of didn't fall into that. But everyone else kind of fell into those Moffatisms. Also, I'm also curious too how the Master even returned, because we knew that he was going to return eventually. That always kind of happens in Doctor Who. You're never going to lose somebody for too long. But they kind of left it like he was dead. She was dead at the end of her last appearance. So I am curious to see how that gets revealed, or if they're going to deal with it all. He's just, no, I'm back. It's fine. So I'm sort of curious on that. All right. Well, that's a lot of my thoughts on it. I didn't love this episode. I thought it was fine. There's some major flaws in it that didn't really work for me, but there are some things that I did really, really like about it. I love the aliens. I love Ryan and Graham. I loved seeing Yaz being developed a little bit more, and I liked Jodie Whitaker, but there were some basic flaws in the episode that I outlined before. And then I loved the Master, and I think that's what really kind of saves this episode for me. I loved the reveal of the Master, but then also the little hints looking back at the Master. And like I said, I also love the alien design. So yeah, that's my basic thoughts. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to get more of my reviews. I also have some really cool videos coming out this month. I actually just finished editing the last video for this month, and I'm actually very excited. I think I have some really, really cool stuff for this month and next month. Some of my best work I think I've ever done. So to tease you on that. So please give a subscribe if you don't want to miss any of that. And also, if you want to help make these videos even better and help support me doing these really cool videos, make sure to give to my Patreon. Every little bit helps. So giving to my Patreon just means the world to me and helps me pay the bills. I need to pay the bills. So that really helps me. But regardless of if you subscribe or give to my Patreon, thank you so much for watching. And as always, live long and prosper. And special thanks to my commander level and above Patreons, Stefan Schuhart, Michael McGee, Boyd Earl, Law Lindley, Wellington Marcus, Munir Amlani, BBD, and Mari Nekar. Thank you so much to all of you and to all of my patrons. It really means the world to me, really helps me out. So thank you all so much to all of my Patreons, and especially my commander level and above Patreons. The name's Gender, Jesse Gender. Some might call me the Jesse Master. God, no, that's a terrible opening. Why would I go with that one?